What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, what's up? My name is Lorraine. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and join in on all the fun. In today's video, I really wanted to have an informal conversation with you guys regarding moving from your country of residence, just because I get a few questions in my DMs on Instagram about my experience and any advice I can give, so I thought I should make a video regarding that. So I'm going to be sharing 5 things you need to know before leaving your country of residence or leaving the country where you live and wanting to go live in another country. So if you want to know what I'm on about, stay tuned. Okay, let's get into it. So one of the first things that you need to know before, moving across country or moving to another country is the country's visa laws. So for example, when I first moved here to Melbourne, I was really only concerned about my student visa. I did not see beyond that because I was coming here to study, you know what I mean? So I didn't really research about what visas I would need if I wanted to stay longer than my studies or after my studies. Like, I knew none of that. So after my studies, I was kind of like, I want to stay, but what visas do I look for? And is it an option to say, can I stay after I study? Because some countries like Australia and the UK, I'm pretty sure, have really strict visa laws, especially for students. Like, they are very adamant on you're gonna study and you leave, and you have a few options on visas if you want to stay. So I feel like if I had done my research before I had finished my studies, or even before moving to the country, I would have been more knowledgeable about my options, as in can I stay, should I go back home, and all that stuff. So I would say if you do want to move to another country, make sure you know that country's visa laws. Is there an opportunity to extend your trip? Can you work? And if you can, how many hours? There's so many elements that go into it. It's not as easy as just getting a visa and you're going. There's all these other hidden elements that you need to know. And I would say do your research extensively, especially when it comes to if you're going to study, what if you want to stay longer? And in some cases you can't stay longer. It's some visas have a condition of no further stay. So yeah, I would say that's really important to know. I wish I had done that. So make sure you do your research on visas for sure. Next up, you need to be aware that when you do move, because I have gotten this question in my DMs about, oh, you've moved across country, don't you feel lonely? Don't you miss home? All these things. And that's the thing, it's scary moving to another country by yourself, right? But it's exciting. It opens up a whole world of opportunity and experience. So I completely encourage it, regardless of, missing family, friends, and, being lonely, because I was here so I'll tell you about my experience with being lonely and missing family or missing home or missing friends. So when I first left South Africa, I was hella excited. I was just yeah, new country, who dis? You know what I mean? It wasn't up until I was here for about 3 months when the loneliness, the homesickness, and missing my friends and missing life in SA hit. More so because sometimes it is quite hard to meet people, right? And the university I was going to had primarily Chinese speaking people from China, right? And it was hard to make friends there because they tend to keep to their own, which is perfectly fine, whatever. And I only knew a few friends from when I went to Malaysia on exchange, but people have their own lives, right? So there were points in, I think, my 3rd month of living here where I was kind of ooh, okay, this is serious. You're literally all by yourself here, your whole life. Back home, none of that. You are literally on a clean slate, which is good, but also it can be a bit intimidating. So things I did to go out of my way to meet people is that at uni, I joined the student union, so I got more active in the school so I can meet people that were in the union as well, do more activities, keep busy as well. I also started going out by myself. If I heard there was a party or anything like that, I was I'm going. I don't care if I don't have anyone to go with, I'm going. And I met a few people that way. So I think what I'm trying to communicate is that it will get lonely. That's just something that you can't escape. Like, you're in a new country, you don't know anyone. It's going to get lonely. What I can advise you on doing is joining clubs, activities, or doing things that you personally enjoy, and then finding other people that enjoy those things. That's the easiest way to make friends, or make people that you can hang out with and enjoy hanging out with, and you're not hanging out for the sake of being lonely. But I will say that those moments will come, but they go as well. And I think the most important thing is not to be stuck in them and not let them get you down, because I mean, the beauty about being alone in a country that's super foreign is that it opens you up to a whole big world of being uncomfortable. And sometimes really wonderful things can come from being uncomfortable. Like, when you step out of your comfort zone, the magic happens. I know that sounds so cliche, but it's literally the truth. So for example, like I mentioned earlier, I started going out by myself. That was fun. Like, obviously make sure you're safe, someone knows where you are, you know how to get home, all of that stuff. But that was completely out of my comfort zone. It was scary, like stepping into a party and you're all by yourself, but you just make friends. Like, people are way more friendly than you think. Another thing is that embrace the loneliness. Like, get comfortable being by yourself. Find an activity that you enjoy that you can do in solitude, read, learn a new skill. There's so much that you can do to kind of escape from that negative mindset of being lonely. So, but it's normal to be lonely if you've just moved to a new country, you know what I mean? And you don't really know anyone there, but prepare yourself for it. Next up is, which kind of ties into the second one, is research the place that you'd be living in. So, for example, because it was so impulsive, or so all of a sudden when I moved here, it happened in a span of literally under a month. I got my visa. I applied, got my visa, and then I was out within the next week. So I would say it all happened under 4 weeks for sure. So I didn't really get the chance to research Melbourne, nor did I even think about it. I was just excited to leave. I was just like, yes, I don't care as long as I'm gone. I was just excited. So I didn't really research Melbourne. I didn't know where the cool spots were. I didn't know what the culture was. I didn't know all the places where I could find my peeps. I didn't even know where I could go get my hair done. I remember before leaving, I was practicing to braid my own hair, because from what I could find, it was rare that places here could do my hair, right? Black hair. So I even started learning how to braid my own hair, because I was like, what? And also because it's expensive here. So if I had done my research on Melbourne, I would have known that there's Footscray. That's where I can get black hair products. That's where I can go get my hair braided. You know what I mean? I would have known that. I didn't find that out until after living here for about 6 months. Yeah, I didn't find out about Footscray. And also, I didn't find out about all these other cool places where I felt like I could have fit in, or it was my vibe, until 6 months after living here. And that's because I didn't really put much research into Melbourne itself. So I would encourage you, get to know the city you're moving to, not just the touristy parts. So that's what I did. I went to the touristy parts, and those, yeah, they're cool to see, but they're not really the heart of the place that you're going to be in. So for example, all the touristy things that I saw weren't really the heart of Melbourne. I got to know the heart of Melbourne, by talking to people, or like-minded people like me, or people that like the same things as me, you know what I mean? And I feel like if I had done more research, I would have found that out sooner rather than later. So I encourage you, find out about the city you're moving to, whether it's about the culture, music, clubs, partying, different types of work opportunities. Just do your research, and I feel like it'll elevate your experience even more, instead of just moving. Let's say you're going there for 1 year and you're gonna waste 4 months trying to figure out the place. No, research it. And obviously once you get here, it's obviously different from it being researched or reading about it on the internet, but it's good to have some sort of foundation around where you're going. Okay, next up. So when I first moved here, I lived with a roommate. because rent is so expensive here. You can't, I mean, if you can, bless you, you're lucky. But most of the time, if you're a student, you're going to be sharing with someone. So I would say, when you are finding a housemate or finding a house to move into, or finding somewhere to, sleep at night, please, please ensure that you know what you're getting yourself into, because living in a place where you don't feel comfortable, whether that's because of the place itself structurally or the people that you're going to be living with, it really will take away from your experience. So what I advise is that if you're going to be moving in with a bunch of people, make sure you guys hang out once or twice before you actually move in. Get to know them, get to know their habits, and also kind of like ask the hard questions. Like ask, how are chores divided? Do you guys clean up? Do you guys clean up after yourselves? Are there going to be parties? Like, do you, ask those awkward questions, but you need to know them if you're going to live with someone. And I failed to do that. I was just kind of like, oh, this looks cute. It looks clean enough. I'm going to move in. And luckily my first experience was okay. I think later on I had some interesting experiences with housemates, but I would say definitely hang out with them once or twice, maybe even 3 times, to kind of get to know what you're getting yourself into, because it plays a really big part of your experience when living somewhere or when moving somewhere. Is like home, where you lay your head, where you want peace, you know what I mean? So definitely make sure that you get to know the place and you get to know the people, because obviously what you see in the first inspection, it looks good, blah blah blah, but when you move in, you start seeing little things that you never saw in the inspection, right? You start noticing their little habits that they never mentioned, or something that you could have picked up if you had gotten to know them a little bit more. So definitely do that. Last but definitely not least, one of the most important things I can share in this video with you guys is, so one of the only things I looked up before I moved here was the cost of living and the cost of groceries. And because I was going to be a student, and I was doing my post-grad, so I already knew what being a student on a budget was, but I wanted to know what being a student on a budget in Australia was. And I looked at the cost of living and I was like, okay, this is fine. Ballparked it, calculated, told my dad, I think if I get this as an allowance, I'll be fine. Because also I was thinking, I can get a job as well if what my dad's giving me is not enough, right? No, wrong. When you look up the cost of living and the cost of goods in a country, double it. Matter of fact, triple it. Because when you get here, it's a whole different ball game than what you are like calculating via the internet or what the internet is saying to you. There's like unforeseen costs, but there's unforeseen costs that you don't account for when you're like setting up a budget. So definitely make sure that when you look up the cost of living of a city that you're moving up to, have some wiggle room around it. Have like comfortable wiggle room where you're gonna be good. Because I moved here and, I had my allowance from my dad, and I was like, okay, I'll just find a job. Like, finding a job is so easy, especially in my position, because I had no work experience whatsoever. So it was difficult finding a job. So I would say, yeah, definitely when it comes to budgeting and money, ensure that you've saved enough that, for example, if worst case scenario, a pandemic were to happen, you'd be able to survive in that country for 6 months without having any like financial aid or having a job. And I know that sounds super extreme, but it's the reality of it. Because when you get to the new country, you get to see that it's not only, it'll be $50 a week. There's other things. There's always other things, And I mean, obviously after you've been here for a while, or been there for a while, you can kind of gauge that, okay, this is my monthly budget. But when you're still moving and you're there and you're still brand new, there are so many unforeseen costs that come in. So I would say definitely make sure you've saved up enough so you are not rich, but like just comfortable and not worrying and not constantly worrying about money. But I mean, you can do it regardless. I mean, I didn't. And you can do it regardless if you don't have like enough saved up for 6 months, and still have a really great time. I'm just saying, it's as a heads up, that might maybe enhance your experience, because worrying about money is the bottom. It's the ghetto. No one wants to worry about money, especially in a new country. You want to be able to do new things, you know, check out all the new spots, go out and not worry that you can't afford certain things. Obviously, in a smart way, budget, right? I think that's definitely very key in how you will enjoy your experience. Now, I moved from South Africa, which is a developing country, to Australia, and the exchange rate is a bit wild, right? So I'll put it up on the screen, what the current exchange rate is. So I had to budget a lot because my allowance wasn't that much, and I was struggling to find a job. I think I only found a job after 4 months I was here. I found a job at my uni, and I found another job at like a marketing, it was like a telephone job. It was the worst job ever, but you know, it gave me extra cash. So yeah, it took about 4 months, and luckily I had saved up money to be okay with my allowance and my own money, if that makes sense. So definitely keep that in mind when you are going to do that. Money is a very important part of the experience, and like, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. So you just have to be aware of that, and it can impact your experience negatively or positively, depending on how well you planned or how well you budgeted. So those were the 5 things I think are super important to think about and to do before you pack your bags and move to another country. Now, I'm going to chat a little bit about my experience and how I went about coming here, because that's also something I get in my DMs. People want to know how I moved to Australia, if it's worth it, if it was worth it, you know, and the procedure I went through. Now, quickly, without sitting here forever, I applied. So I went to Monash, South Africa, which back then it was an Australian-owned university in South Africa. Right now, I think it's under different management. And through Monash, I actually got to go on exchange to Malaysia for about, I think, 6 months. Was it 6 months? 3 months, 3 or 6 months, I can't remember. And there I got to meet so many people, including people who lived in Melbourne. So when I finished my studies, and to be quite honest, I didn't know what to do after that. So I was like, let me go do my postgrad. And I didn't really want to do it in SA. And I remembered how everyone, when I was in exchange in Malaysia, was talking about, you know, how great Melbourne is. So I asked my dad, and he eventually, keyword eventually, agreed to let me come. Now, I was fortunate enough that my father could pay for my uni expenses or my uni fees and my rent and give me an allowance. So, and I often get questions about scholarships and, you know, financial aid, usually through the university that you may be applying to. There will be scholarship opportunities through there. So definitely look at your university hub. There's definitely bound to be something in there, or consult with an advisor. If not, there's always outside places that are offering scholarships. If I find some, I will put them in the description box below. So make sure you check out that box. And yeah, before I packed my bags, after the Monash Australia accepted me, I had to apply for a student visa. I waited now mind you, this was in 2016, so the laws and the processes might have changed. So I applied in 2016, I waited about 14 days, maybe less. So I'd say about 10 working days, and my student visa was ready, and booked my flight and flew out the next week. Did my studies, and then after studying, Australia offers postgrad students a 2-year visa after their studies to work, you know, experience the country a little bit more. I applied for that one, which enabled me to stay. Now, I got asked on my Instagram whether I had to take the English test. So now when you apply for the second visa, which is the graduation visa, they don't consider South Africa an English speaking country. So I had to prove that I could speak English, even though I've been speaking it since I was 7, but nah, even younger, 5. When were we in grade R? I think around there, somewhere around there. So I had to take the test, and you have to get, I'll put it on the screen, what the minimum percentage you have to get when you write that test in order to qualify for the visa. I also had to do a medical examination. So that was blood work, x-ray, chest x-ray to be more specific. And they send that off to the visa department. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I know it's not always that simple in other, situations. It was a bit more, the process was a bit more simple for me just because I was coming from an already Australian establishment to the same one here in Australia. So it was the transition school-wise was a bit easier for me. Like I don't think I needed that much documentation, and I'm not too sure if you were moving from, for example, a UJ to a Monash, how easy it would be. So I would definitely consider looking at your uni and seeing if they have any exchange programs or any information about moving overseas, and contacting your advisor and kind of talking about your options when it comes to doing an exchange program. And I mean, right now we're in a pandemic, but it could be something you could be looking for, 2 years from now or a year from now, whenever we're able to travel again. So it's definitely super, super exciting. And was it worth it? Yes. So I got asked, was it worth it coming here, and was it worth it doing my postgrad at Monash? 100%. I had the best time at Monash. It was challenging, obviously. I was doing my master's, so yeah, there were a few hurdles along the road, but I feel like that's just life. It was definitely worth it for me to come here. I fell in love with Melbourne so much, and like it's so crazy because some of the when you speak to the locals here, they just want to get the fuck out of Melbourne, and I'm just like, I love it here. And which is fair enough. I moved from another country, which I've known my whole life, to another city where this has been their whole life. So obviously they want to go experience something different. And that's pretty much what I have to share. I hope this video was informative and has you kind of thinking about, trying something that's out of your comfort zone. It's something, I don't think it's something you'll ever regret, because it just opens up your eyes and opens up your world to so much more. Imagine just like knowing one thing and then completely moving to another country. Everything that you know is literally like jumbled around, and you just have to navigate your way around this new place. It's exciting, it's scary. I mean, there's good, there's bad, but all along the way there's lessons, beautiful lessons and beautiful experiences. So I really hope you found this video informational, useful, or like you could take at least one thing away from this video. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. If I haven't answered all your questions, leave some questions down below and I'll try my best to answer all of them. But that is all for this video. I will see you in my next one. Bye.